Let's talk about how to tape a PDF sewing pattern together fast. I've literally printed my PDF patterns, and the very thought of the taping process has caused me to procrastinate actually taping them together. Please tell me I'm not the only one that does this. And one of the reasons why I would procrastinate is because I just didn't like that whole taping process. I did not want to take the time to do it. So I tried to think of a way to make it easier or faster or both. Now I use the tips that I'm about to give you to get rid of some of the things that I dislike about the taping process. And one of those things that I dislike is having to trim edges before I tape things together. That's one of those things that is time consuming, which makes me procrastinate because I just don't want to take the time to do it. So my first tip on how to tape a PDF sewing pattern together fast is to use a light table. Now, if you very seldom use PDF patterns, then a light table is not something that you need to buy. But if you, like me, use a lot of PDF patterns, then a light table is a great investment. And I've put the link to the light table that I use in the description below. Now you might be saying, well, I can use a window in my house for free. And that's true. And I've done that. But here's why I prefer using a light table. So here's my light table, and I've laid down a couple of pattern pieces or a couple of pages of my pattern, and you can adjust the level of brightness that you want to use. And it really depends on the markings that you have on your PDF pattern. As you can see, my PDF pattern here, I have these different registration marks that I have to match up. But here's why I really like using a light table as opposed to using a window. Because once I lay these pages on this light table, they are not moving. Okay? I don't need weights to hold them down. I don't need anything to hold them down. They are not going to move. They're going to stay in place, which means that when I match up my registration marks here, I don't have to worry about this page moving, and I can adjust as needed. And once it's in place, it's in place. So I can easily just grab my tape and tape my pieces together, and everything will stay in place. And this feature alone speeds up the process of me taping my pattern pages together. And because this light table, also called a light pad, measures 25 by 18 inches, I can fit at least 4 sheets of paper on here at a time and tape them together before I have to move anything. And I used to cut this excess off around these registration marks so that I could see how to match them up, because I couldn't see through the paper. So now that I have the light table, I don't have to do that. You can also use the light table to trace your commercial patterns, because of course, when we buy commercial patterns, we're going to have to make adjustments. So of course, we don't want to mess up our original pattern. So the light table gives you the ability to trace your pattern a lot faster than any other method. The next tip for taping your PDF sewing patterns together fast is to tape the pieces that have your grain line or your center front or your center back together first, and then add all the other pages to it. When we're taping our pattern pieces together, accuracy is important. So we can use our grain line or our center front line or our center back line as reference lines while we're taping the pattern pieces together. For example, this pattern piece is going to be cut on the fold. So I'm lining up my center front first so that when I tape the other pages to it, if this is straight and this is correct, then I know those pages will be correct too. And I just go in and take my ruler to make sure that everything lines up. Now there's a short line here about 1/2 inch that's perpendicular to my center front. So I'm using that as a reference to make sure that my line is straight, and it's pretty good. So I'm going to tape this together, and I'm just going to move this up a little, and I'm going to finish taping my center front by adding the bottom piece. I'm going to turn this light on real quick so I can see. I don't know how this looks on camera, so I'm not going to keep the light on. And once they're matched up, I'm going to do the same thing. So I have about a 1/2 inch line that's perpendicular to my center front. So I'm going to use that as my reference with my ruler to make sure that my line is straight. and it looks pretty good, and then I can tape it together. And so once I add all the other pieces to this, I know that this pattern piece is accurate because I've made sure that my reference line, which in this case is my center front line, is straight. Then I add all the other pages to them. This also means that I tape one pattern piece together at a time. And one of the reasons I do that is limited space. This brings me to the next tip for taping your PDF sewing pattern together fast. And that is, once a pattern piece is completely taped together, separate it from all the rest. Now, with my pattern making software, I can actually print just one pattern piece at a time. So I print all those pages for that piece. But if you don't want to print one whole piece at a time, what you can do is print it like you would normally print it, and then as you tape a pattern piece together, separate it from the rest, especially if, like me, you have a limited table space. Because if you're letting all the paper that you've taped together hang over the table, that could cause things to shift as well. So to eliminate problems, if you tape one pattern piece at a time, once it's completely taped together, you can separate it from the rest. If you want to learn more about the pattern making software I mentioned earlier, you can use this video where I tell you about the pattern making software I use and why I chose it over Adobe Illustrator. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.